Okay, podcast is started.
It's live. It's live and we're all here. It's awesome.
It is arson. No, it's arson. No.
Arson? No.
Hopefully it's not that either.
Okay, let's make a podcast.
Let's do this
How do we
thing.
record? Start music, and Wits End, it's all on you after that.
The entire show.
Oh, hey, welcome to Caching in the Northwest, the only podcast dedicated to geocaching in the great Pacific Northwest. Tonight we'll talk about caches and caches unique to this little corner of the country, so load up your GPSr and mark a waypoint for adventure. It's time to go caching in the Northwest.
And this show is all about adventure. And
Absolutely.
speaking of adventure, Caching in the Northwest presents the return of our very own adventurer. Some say he has an identical twin south of the equator, and others say his pointer fingers are unnecessarily pointy. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Buenos listeners, es bueno estar de vuelta, mi compadres. Tonight we are going to share some caching adventures in the Northwest and beyond.
And beyond. Well, it's about time that you got back. Gosh, we've missed you. I have no idea where you've been. You don't write. You don't call. It's terrible.
Well, I missed hanging out with you, with both of you great gentlemen, and all of our listeners and viewers last Thursday. But I do have to say that I really did enjoy spending last Thursday on a beach in Varadero, Cuba, with Mrs. Land Monkey instead.
Well, while our friends, the Land Monkeys, were jet-setting to places not yet permitted officially for us to travel, Wits End and I enjoyed a caching adventure right here in our own backyard. That would be Point Defiance Park.
Yeah. That does sound like an interesting trip, and I really want to hear about that one. But before we discuss caching adventures, I'd like to plug an important geocaching event coming up next week. The GC code is GC5KZX7. It's called Learn to Live, Geocaching Outdoor Safety. It's on Wednesday, February 25th at 7 p.m., so it's a midweek event in the evening. This event is put on by the Metrovan geocachers, but more importantly, it's hosted and led by the North Shore Search and Rescue Team at their headquarters in North Vancouver. So I really want to encourage any of our listeners or viewers to please consider going if you can make it.
I wish I could, actually. That really sounds interesting. You know, safety, it's such an important topic. It's always important to keep in the forefront of our minds, and it's always a topic that really interests me, especially in that area of search and rescue. I've thought about getting involved in that for a long time. What do you know what exactly some of the topics they might cover at this interesting sounding event?
I can give you a little bit of a lead into that, but it has been arranged by our very own Catapult Jeff, so he certainly knows more than I do about it, but I'm really looking forward to going. We will be there. So Metrovan Geocaching is proud to have members of the North Shore Rescue Team. They're going to talk and talk to the group and interact with the group and educate us all about some mountain and backcountry safety. What to bring with you, how to plan properly. These are the same hardworking volunteers that go out in the winter storms to find missing skier or hike up 10 kilometers up a mountain to spend a night with a wet or lost person. Their plan is to help us understand how to be better prepared, both mentally and physically, and make sure we're in the physical sense, make sure we're bringing the right things with us. So we hope never to have to hear about the search for a lost geocacher on the news.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And I thought search and rescue just involved large dogs with little casks of brandy on their collar. But that's probably not it, is it?
That's in my house, how search and rescue works, yes.
Jasper.
Not during the podcast. This is a family-friendly show. Now, listen, this great content that we have just keeps coming tonight. We have some audio to share about a couple of the other geolocation-based activities that we did this weekend.
Oh, yes, indeed we do. And, one of those activities, it involves this thing behind me. I don't know if any of the viewers will see it. So, if you wonder what that thing might be, does anybody know?
I do.
Potentially painful?
And it looks like an airplane.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that a little later.
I won't say what it is, but I knew what it was before our recent adventure. So let's wait to talk about that activity and go a little more when we can go a little more into detail about it. But right now we have some feedback about our challenge cache episodes. So
awesome.
Dano of Team Pugach has called in. Let's listen.
Hello, this is Dano of Team Pugach, longtime heckler, first-time listener, and I just want to say I'm enjoying your podcast. I want to chime in about the challenge caches you talked about. I definitely feel if you're going to do a challenge cache, as a hider, a cache owner, you need to be able to be available and supportive for the finders. My experience with them so far is you find X amount of caches. On the log of each one in the series, there's a number or letter that you then solve a puzzle after you find all of them to find a bonus. But sometimes the logs are missing or damaged, and cache owners never return emails. So if you're going to leave the game, you should definitely disable your challenge caches. All right, well, thanks for a great podcast, and I'll keep on listening from the Atlantic Northeast. Take care.
Fantastic. Hey, Dano, thanks for listening, and thanks for the feedback for sure. First thought I have on what Dano shared is I think that rule applies across the board to any geocache, whether it's a challenge cache, a puzzle cache, traditional, multi, whatever. If you're leaving the game knowingly, I mean, sometimes you leave the game unknowingly, if life happens. But if you're leaving the game knowingly, you should either have somebody adopt your caches or just archive them. Because yeah, it can be. We've come across that working on a series of caches, or something where you need to interact with the CO, and there's just no response back. It can be really frustrating.
Yeah, and it can take a lot of time before they're officially archived from other complaints. So yeah, be responsible for your caches if you can.
I'd even extend that to other geolocation games, at least specifically Munzie, because I've come across, now that we're starting to play a little bit more Munzie up here in the Vancouver area, definitely run across some Munzies that were placed years ago by people who just decided they're not into the game anymore, which is fine. But obviously the Munzie has disappeared over time, which happens, but it's not archived, right? So now it's up to the whole process of two people logging a DNF, and that's fine, but you've already wasted time looking for it.
Yeah, that's true. But at least Munzie is a little more self-policing in that matter, that after two people claim they can't find it, it becomes not archived, it becomes disabled, and then after 30, 60, 90 days it becomes archived. So it's a little more self-managed, I should say, than geocaching is.
Yeah.
Now, Land Monkey, we hear you had a significant cache find on your recent trip. Is that true or false?
It is absolutely true. Indeed, there was a significant cache find. Thank you for asking. There was also some significant caching to make sure that we were able to hit that number on the trip. So that was a fun couple of months. But Mrs. Land Monkey and I did kick off our relaxing tropical vacation with geocache find number 6,000 at, I forgot to put the GC code in here, but it's Cuevo Ambrosio in Veradero, Cuba. And for those who may not have visited that particular caching location, wait for the surprise, it is an earth cache.
Really? An earth cache?
Really?
I'm shocked. I mean, I didn't even know they had earth caches in Cuba. I didn't know they had earth in Cuba.
They have it everywhere on the planet except where there's ocean.
Yeah, well, we in the U.S. don't know about Cuba, so. Hey, but congratulations on that milestone. I have to say though, I'm a little disappointed because with that major milestone in Cuba, you broke the streak that you had of finding the 1,000 milestone markers with the Bad Cop and Me. If I remember correctly, the 4,000th and 5,000th were at the original stash and the block party. Does that sound right?
That's absolutely right. But I will point out that due to that streak that we had started together and an observation that I believe Wits End it was you who made, but I might be wrong. It might be the Bad Cop, but I was pretty sure it was Wits End, who noted that each one of our 000 milestones has been in a different state.
True.
So what we decided we would do is not only make it a different state, but a different country. Add on to that, make it a different cache type than something we had found for a significant milestone as well. And you guys were invited, but you know,
well,
I can't be held responsible for your government.
But it wasn't
Nor can I.
invite, because you went to a country we're not allowed to go to, and you knew that.
Yeah. Well.
However, if you try to continue that trend of new countries and new types, eventually it's going to get very difficult to maintain.
And somewhat expensive.
And somewhat expensive. Yeah, I'm not saying it's something we're going to continue for a long time, but the opportunity worked out, and it was a lot of fun. And I also want to shout out to a number of local cachers who had in the Vancouver area who had been down to Cuba geocaching prior to us and were able to give us some great advice. Number one, you can't bring a GPSr. So shout outs to Cuttlefish amongst other geocachers who let us know that early on, and then we were able to plan for that. But also to cacher Dave the Best, who helped us with a couple of the Earth caches as well by helping us prepare in advance. So awesome, super awesome local help.
Nice.
Very cool. I had no idea you couldn't bring a GPS into Cuba.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, you know.
No GPS and no any blah blah. What am I saying? What am I trying to say? No GPS and no personal radios of any sort.
Oh, okay. Smartphone?
So, walkie-talkies. You are this is the irony. You can bring your smartphone, which is GPS
which is a GPS, yes.
And a kind of radio.
And it's a radio, yeah. So.
Hey, I don't make the rules, so just made sure I followed them. So yeah,
Good
what
plan.
we ended up doing is did a pocket query of all 90 caches in the entire country of Cuba, loaded that in CGO, and used the OSM offline maps for Central America, which had the island of Cuba in them, and we were set.
Nice.
Worked really well, and it was an awesome adventure. Those particular caves that we went to a number of different caves, but those ones in particular are quite centrally located to all the major resorts in the Veradero area. It was easily accessed by a short hop-on, hop-off tourism bus, and the caves themselves were also easily walked through. We additionally had the extra benefit of meeting some geocachers from Germany just as we were arriving and they were leaving, so that was an awesome bonus to the day as well. Anybody who's interested? Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
How did you know they were geocachers?
Well, that's funny because one of the other things I had done is for all the Earth caches, I had printed them all off on paper ahead of time. So I had my little booklet with me on bright yellow paper, and of course, I guess it had the geocaching logo on the back of one of the pages or something. So as this group of German geocachers were walking out of the cave, when we were walking towards it, they must have glanced over and saw that, I guess. I'm not sure what else would have really given it away other than having the smartphone out. And one of the fellows called out and said, "Geocaching?" Yeah. So ended up chatting for a while, exchanging trackables. We actually filmed them for a little bit. So if you watch our latest episode, Land Monkey Geocaching Adventures, episode 78, which just went live as we started tonight's show, you'll see our new German friends right on the beginning of that episode.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. It was an absolute ton of fun. But hey, I heard you guys had some great local caching adventure while we were away.
You know, we did.
Ooh,
And
I heard a ding ding.
oh, it's ding. Yes, it's that time.
It's that time.
We had a great time. That's right. We did more than just caching, however. I had planned to surprise the bad cop by bringing along to an activity that weekend that I had heard about but I'd never done. As it turned out, we were both surprised because we arrived there and found yet another navigation, location-based activity going on. And there was a rather huge group participating in that in an orienteering event. Now, I've never done orienteering. I've always been intrigued by it. And there are some similarities to a lot of our other hobbies and pastimes here. So after we finished our activities for the day, we went over to the orienteering headquarters kind of registration area, and one of the participants there was nice enough to do a little interview with us. So I think the Bad Cop has a recording here. Let's listen as Rebecca tells us more about orienteering. Now, there's a little wind noise in the audio. We tried, I know the Bad Cop worked hard to try to filter and edit some of that out today, but we were outside in the Great Pacific Northwest, and we do have wind. So sorry about that, but I think it's good enough to listen to.
Let's have a listen.
Well, we've had an interesting day here at Point Defiance Park, and we've run into an orienteering course, and I'm here with
Rebecca Jensen.
Rebecca, can you tell us a little bit about orienteering?
Yes, absolutely. So orienteering is the sport of using a map and compass to navigate a route from checkpoint to checkpoint as fast as you can, or maybe as fast as you feel like.
Very good. Now, when we were introduced to you, there's something special about you. You won championships?
No, maybe no winning championships, perhaps. Maybe locally a little bit. Yes, I've been orienteering for about 5 or 6 years, and I do hold my own locally in the women's league here, placing top 5 usually. I have been to the World Mountain Biking Orienteering Championships.
That seems like an odd combination.
That's very specific.
Yes.
Yes, and that was in Hungary.
Now, how does one get into orienteering? What's a good entry point?
Yes, I'd say it depends on your comfort level, and I think there are kind of 2 ways you can go about it. You can just show up. The really great thing about the Cascade Orienteering meets is that there's always a beginner instructor. There's a person designated to talk to beginners and sort of get them acquainted with just what the whole thing is about. What the flags you're looking for look like, what all the special symbols on the map means. So they'll get you started. And there's also tiered courses, so you can start. There's a beginner, intermediate, advanced courses. For adults, I typically advise that they just start with intermediate, and you can work your way up. There are some great local navigation clinics, and I will plug my own company, but I work for Mergio. We do Mergio navigation races, Mergio nav races. And we pride ourselves on putting on navigation clinics that are very hands-on. You often run into kind of old school navigation clinics that start in the classroom and stay in the classroom and use a lot of pencils and rulers, and you sort of leave feeling like, am I going to remember any of this? And what we do at Mergio is actually we're out in the park practicing on courses, teaching really practical skills that'll stick. And so Mergio offers navigation clinics that teach some of the more basic and overlooked skills from the very beginning, just how to hold your map. But if people hold their map with north always at the top, and truly you want to orient your map. You turn it to match the landscape. And actually that is literally where the term orienteering for the sport came from, is that we are constantly turning our map to match the landscape.
To be oriented to the direction you're going. So.
Exactly.
Interesting. Nice. Now, go ahead and plug your company. Where would our listeners be able to find information about this?
We are at navraces.com, and we have an event coming up that actually would be a great way to get started. It's Rock Creek Ramble in April, mid-April, 11th and 12th, out in eastern Washington, near Sprague, Washington. And it's in a really interesting geological location because it's the Scablands, where the Missoula floods came through and just scoured it, and what's left are these basalt cliffs and columns. And what's great as a new navigator is you can see everything. You know, there are not many trees left, and so you have not much obscuring your view. You are dealing with USGS map scenario, and our races, our geo races, are different because they're very long distance, like 4, 7, or 10 hours, for example. And you're on a very big map, a USGS map, which hikers might be more acquainted with that sort of scale. They're usually 1 to 25 or 1 to 30,000 in scale. And so it's kind of an all-day hike. You don't really need to get super hardcore about it, and many people treat it as a fun day hike. But that's a great one to get started with. The event is on Sunday, and there's even some practice courses and clinics that happen on Saturday, so you can get a bit of practice before you can dive in. The orienteering that Cascade Orienteering Club does is a bit different because they're on much smaller maps. We have maps 1 to 5,000 scale, up to 1 to 10,000, 1 to 15,000 max. And they're very specialized maps with a lot of specialized colors and symbols, which are very helpful. I mean, the vegetation is color-coded.
Oh,
like,
nice.
yeah, so if it's a thick forest, it'll be dark green. And if it's a very passable forest, like, it won't slow you down much, it'll be a lighter green, which is really important as a, person on foot to choose your route. Do I want to schwack through that or not? So it's a bit of a different experience, and the Cascade events or orienteering events are often, but not always, often point to point. So I need to go from number 1 to number 2, number 3, and they're purposefully set in a way so that there's an interesting route choice. Do I want to go straight up and over the hill and schwack because it's a beeline, or maybe I'll take this trail over here for a little while and dive in later? So you're presented with a choice. The Mergio races and sometimes Cascade events are either like a score format. So you get a map and you actually get to look at it for a while. At a Mergio race, you actually have like an hour to look at your map. And
Give a chance to plan your route.
Yes, exactly, because you can visit the checkpoints in any order, and as many as you want. And they have varying point values. So there's actually a strategy in like, do I want to go all the way out there for the 100-pointer, or do I get some lower point ones that are closer in, or what is my overall route going to be? So they use some very similar skills, and it's definitely the same crowd that does both.
You answered the question. As it is a race and you're not going point to point, how do you determine a winner?
Right.
It's all on point value.
Yes, the most points, exactly.
Very good.
I noticed as we walked around here that there's 2 or 3 different school buses and vans from school districts. Do you have a lot of school, high school, junior high age groups participating?
Yes, absolutely. Cascade Orienteering Club has, I believe, the largest junior league in the country. And they come out in the winter during the school year. Actually, the winter season is our biggest season. Starts in the fall and goes through February. We meet every 2 weeks on average in parks around Western Washington. And of course, adults are welcome too. There's a concurrent adult league. But then it keeps going. There's Winter Series, and once that's over, we have Choose Your Adventure Series, that is actually in that Soro format. It's very kind of social friendly because everybody starts at the same time and you have to finish by the same time. You do as much as you want, so that's a great way to get started. And then later in the summer is the Ultimate Series, which sounds hardcore, but really it's an exploration of different types of orienteering. So they'll throw in like canoe orienteering or a relay or an extra long one up in like Salmon Lasac or the Chianaway, which is just gorgeous. And that's really what, those are my favorite things. I do these local things to keep my navigation skills sharp, but what I really live for is just getting up in the mountains and getting lost in purpose a little bit.
Judging from the participants I've seen around today, it also is good for your health. It keeps you in good shape.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd have trouble keeping up with some of the orienteering people I saw running around here.
Well, there's certainly a lot of older people that still enjoy orienteering, as well as young, and I love that age span. And a testament to just how long you can do this. The famous, well, in the orienteering circle, Sharon Crawford is, I think, in her kind of early 70s, and I'll go to like a national meet, what we call an A meet, and there's like an elite course and the other recreational courses, and I'm 30, and I'm not super fit, but I'm all right, and I'll sign up for the elite course, and I just kind of barely make the time cut for, the elite course. If you're not so fast, you just do recreational stuff. But Sharon Crawford, she doesn't do her like age group class, which is the shorter course. She does the elite class, and she beats me. I'm like, and I've seen her in the forest. They call her deadly accurate because she does not take a step in the wrong direction ever. It's amazing.
That is really impressive.
That's cool.
Yep.
That's nice. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to us today.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
So, that was a fun interview. Had I known we were going to be out and about, I would have brought better recording gear with windscreens and the whole bit. But, as Wits had said earlier, he didn't tell me why we were going out. But he says, bring your recorder, you might want it. So some of those, the runs coming up in April, 7 or 4, 7 or 10-hour runs, depending on what you want to do. So, we just ended up walking up to the registration area for this orienteering course and found people with clipboards that looked like they were in charge. And, we found out, no, he's definitely not in charge. But said, Rebecca over here will talk with you. And you just heard the results. And
yeah, she was great.
schwack is my new favorite word.
The contraction of bushwhack. Who knew?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And she sounds like a really great ambassador for the sport of orienteering. And it's something, again, I think a lot of us as geocachers have heard of, but not too many have had the opportunity to actually learn more about it or even try it out. What a great way to get out and explore the great outdoors. There's
Exactly.
more to the outdoors than geocaching.
What?
Well, that's just crazy talk. No. Yes, there are more ways. There's Muncie too, right? Well, the real reason that we went up there, besides geocaching, because we did geocaches as well, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't tell the Bad Cop we were going.
Yeah.
I said, hey, let's go. It was fun. So I picked him up and said, grab your stuff, let's go. We're going to be out in the rain, of course. And I had this little contraption in my back seat of my car here. And this is what's hanging behind me. It's an antenna. And we were going hunting. We weren't going animal hunting. We were going hidden transmitter hunting. Now, some people, it is often called a fox hunt or a bunny hunt, but rest assured, no cute little furry animals were harmed in the hunting that day.
Not
This is called a Yagi antenna. It's actually a Yagi Uda. Two Japanese men invented it quite some time ago, Mr. Yagi and Mr. Uda. Mr. Uda's name is kind of lost to history, much in the same way as Roebuck. But it's a directional antenna, which lends itself perfectly for direction finding. So we rolled a little recording in the amateur radio direction finding event too, ARDF. So listen to that for a couple of seconds here.
You're probably wondering what that beeping is.
I'm wondering.
We are out in Point Defiance Park, which is, in case you didn't know, the largest park within city boundaries in the United States. Point Defiance is a great place to do all sorts of things. So what are we doing today?
We are bunny hunting. No, don't get all upset about hunting poor little defenseless
duck
bunnies.
Season.
Yeah, wabbit season.
Duck season.
Now, we're bunny hunting. It's also called fox hunting, tea hunting, or radio direction finding. We're searching for a hidden radio transmitter somewhere in a mile or so radius of our starting point. We have a handheld radio with a directional antenna, so we get some bearings and try to determine where the strongest signal is and head that direction and then take a new reading. So it's kind of location-based gaming of a technology way. It's been around several years. I know that reading up on it in the past, people did monthly or weekly transmitter hunts in the Southern California. It's fairly popular, and it's extremely popular in Germany and other parts of Europe. And they have complete international contests where they time people and have 10 different transmitters throughout the woods, and it's a lot of fun. It's kind of frustrating, but then I can make geocaching frustrating too, so it's not that different, really.
So we're out here with the Radio Club of Tacoma. Now, I don't know if that's the proper name for it.
Yep.
And they have set up 4 transmitters here in Point Defiance Park.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was right off the shelter where we met. It was a great little,
There's a practice one.
You realize you point the antenna that way, you look, and go, hey, there's an antenna sticking up over there. At each one of these transmitters, there's a sign. It's a square sign with a diagonal white and orange marking on it.
It reminds me of a diver flag.
Exactly. That's the same thing I thought. So when you go find the transmitter, you write down the numbers on that flag, and that shows that you found it. It's a lot like geocaching. You're using an electronic device, getting signals from somewhere else.
Falling down in the mud, sliding over logs.
That's just me.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I fell down. I made this a contact sport when it didn't have to be. But you can tell by the beeping here of the transmitter, it doesn't beep continually. So it'll give out a series of beeps, go silent for
30 seconds,
30 seconds, a minute, and then it starts its cycle all over again. So you can't rely on that all the time. It's kind of like looking at the arrow of your GPS, the compass of your GPS. You head that way, you stop, you take another reading. You move a little farther, you stop, you take another reading. So yeah, this is a lot of fun.
Well, let's go see if we can find this one.
Okay, off we go.
Well, that does sound like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've never tried anything like that. So it sounds like you need an antenna, a radio, and you're all set. Like, how else do you prepare?
Pretty much that's it in a nutshell. There's always there's a little more to it. Just like all you need is a GPS and go find a geocache. And there's a little more to it. And I don't know if we have the time to get into it too deeply tonight. If some people are interested, we might get into more in a future show. But one thing, for example, is that these hidden transmitters, they aren't always out there. Like geocache, you hide it, it's there. You can go look for it either until it gets muggled or archived or whatever. These are set up like the orienteering event. They're set out and hidden for the event duration, and then once the event's over, they're taken out and put it back in. So they're a little more. It's a little more of an organized event type thing. There's a great website at homingin.com. It talks about it in a lot of detail. The antenna is, as I mentioned, a directional antenna. Another piece of equipment that helps go between the antenna and the radio is an attenuator that kind of pads and limits the signal, because as you get closer to the actual transmitter, the signal strength can overwhelm your radio and you start to just hear it in all directions. So that's kind of frustrating that way. But yeah, it's really fun. We enjoyed it.
We're using a small ham radio, and it really surprised me. You don't need to be a licensed radio operator to participate, because in the amateur radio world, you need a license to transmit. But since all we're doing here is listening for these transmitters, anyone can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So you do need some equipment, but the Radio Club of Tacoma that put this event on had some loaner gear for people to use. In fact, that's what we used to start with. Yeah. Even though Wits End had made the antenna and all that, it hadn't been tested. So we grabbed the gear that was there, and off we went.
Yeah, I didn't have an attenuator and didn't have the right radio gear, but it was fun, and I think we'd do it again. There are events I know coming up next month down in Portland. They're not as plentiful as a lot of geocaching events, but they're out there. We want to try to go find some more, and there are even some that are designed for urban city automobile-based things. They might be several miles away and involve driving to the transmitter. So, and to bring this show full circle, isn't that what we're all about? The skills that you use in T-hunting are often used by search and rescue personnel, mentioning that event coming up in Vancouver. They, in the process of searching for lost hikers and people lost in the wilderness, if a person goes missing and they have a cell phone with them, the searchers can use a directional antenna a lot like this one to listen for that phone. Because even if there's no cell coverage in the area they are, a cell phone continuously puts out a ping or signal looking for a cell tower, and often that can be just enough for a searcher to locate them. So these events are fun, but they can also provide some training and skill sets to be useful for other things down the road.
That's neat. That is really cool to learn about that. And you guys must have just had an amazing day. Talk about a great day of learning and having fun.
This kick.
Yeah, we another person teamed up with us who happened to be a geocacher. So while we were out looking for these radio transmitters, we were also looking for geocaches and found a couple.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, again, talking about bringing the show full circle, we want to remind all of you fantastic listeners to check in again next week when we will have a very special guest joining us, epic NorthWest geocacher and mapmeister extraordinaire mountain bike. Wow. Then following that, we'll have a follow-up episode on social media for geocachers, and yet another great guest after that to discuss an upcoming mega event. And last on my list that I have here in front of me, March 12th, we are going to have a special pie episode.
Oh, I do love pie.
I like pie, yeah.
Well, then make sure you're here for that episode.
Well, as Lion Monkey said, we want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Don't forget that you could be part of the show. Just like Dano of Team Pugach, call in to 253-693-TFTC, leave us a comment, correction, or question any time of the day or night. Of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com, and don't forget to visit that website, cachingnw.com, for show notes on this or any other information on any of the other Caching in the Northwest episodes. Also, your support helps keep the quality shows coming. If you like this show, please click the PayPal button on the website. This show's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2015 by Chris Umfanello.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a wonderful evening, folks.
Ciao.
And we are clear of the recording.
Woohoo!
Hey, we had some feedback that unfortunately we didn't get to. Wet Coaster said that he's done some orienteering in his younger days in high school.
Oh, so like a couple of years ago?
Yeah. And Dora Moore said she had some accidental orienteering. I don't exactly know what that means.
Not sure what that means.
Unplanned.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine it involved some schwacking as well.
Yeah.
Probably, yes. Yes, we have adopted that term as our own now.
Yes, we've schwacked.
That's a fun term.
I do apologize for the wind noise in that interview, but the interview was just too good not to. I edited out as much as I could, not just too good not to post. So
yeah,
you lost a little bit, but I think you get most of the point. And again, Rebecca, was that the name?
Yep.
Rebecca. Yeah. Wow. What a great ambassador.
she was great.
Exactly. And it was a completely cold interview of hey, you walk up to the start booth and is there somebody here we can talk to about orienteering? We do a little podcast about geocaching, which is similar.
Yeah, and the guy that looked like he was in charge totally threw Rebecca under the bus.
So he was.
She's who you want to talk to.
She's been on the radio before. Talk to her.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, it was evident that she's not only well spoken, but obviously good at putting an interview together on the fly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's a few people you just ask a few leading questions and listen, and she was one of them. So, yeah, I was very impressed. And I learned that there's a difference between orienteering and compass courses. I assumed they were the same, but they're not. A compass course is you go to a point, you take a reading, and you go straight. Orienteering is you choose your path. Do you want to stay on the trail or do you want to schwack?
Ah, okay.
And it's funny, the orienteering checkpoints had a very similar orange and white flag. We were out looking for these hidden radio transmitters. Like, oh look, it's got to be right there. And he ran over there, and that's an orienteering checkpoint.
What really amazed me is how quiet the orienteers were.
Yeah.
We'd see that checkpoint and go, nope, that's not it. I'd turn around and I'd look again, and there was somebody there. It's 20 yards from me, and they didn't break twigs. They didn't, they were just quiet, like Bigfoot quiet. I mean, it's just like, how did you get there?
And they were all running at high speed.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And Point Defiance Park, one of the, I don't know, benefits or drawbacks of the park is there's huge terrain changes.
Yeah.
You can go up and down quickly in that park. I went down.
Quickly.
I took it quickly down. I was the only one who made it a contact sport that day. People
That's
are like,
kind of your
man,
thing, right?
Can I get pictures of you? Really? Because I fell in the mud? So.
It's your shtick.
Yeah. I schwacked.
Schwack stick.
Exactly. Don't leave home without it.
That's right. Yeah, I managed to do a very acrobatic maneuver and stay on my feet. I still don't know how I did it, but
you did like a 3-point pirouette.
It was crazy. I started to slide down the hill, but I don't know. I kind of spun and rotated and slid on my feet and looked back up at the hill, and I was as surprised as anybody. Just
I watched you do the whole thing. I was like, wow, do that again.
There's no way.
Awesome.
But yeah, I did build this crazy antenna because I saw plans online and that they intrigued me. A typical Yagi antenna is 3 elements like this, but because you're often out in the woods and brush and things, they make them out of tape measures.
Oh,
so that
okay.
when you bang in the brushes, it'll fold up out of the way and still spring back straight out.
Brilliant.
So there's just a wire antenna there, or connector, and PVC pipe, and find some measurements online. Like I said, I don't have the rest of the gear, so I never actually got to use that antenna for the transmitter hunt. But I like to tinker in the garage and make things on the weekend, and that looked like a fun one to do. And I had a dead tape measure that the spring had sprung. So there you go. Virtually everything there I had in my garage, so that was just something I could build on a rainy Saturday without spending any money.
And he was the real belle of the ball. Everybody was looking, going, "Where'd you get that antenna? Did you make that? That's incredible. How did you do this? And how did you put that?"
I didn't think it was all that incredible, but people seem to like it. I shared this during the interview a little bit. There's an article in the Radio Club of Tacoma's newsletter. There's the two of us standing there holding. That was the radio antenna that we borrowed. And then there's a picture somewhere down here. There's me and the one I built. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, you can go to the Radio Club of Tacoma's website and read about the event if you like.
That's
I'm sure
cool.
that Cap will put a link somewhere in the show notes.
Well, I could do that.
Please do.
Show notes or Q&A, shall we say. I tried that segue. It didn't work so well. Wet Coaster says, in orienteering, I quickly learned how to read contour lines.
Oh, that's important.
I can imagine as you're running up the top of a hill thinking, well, it can't be that bad.
Yeah, we did that with the transmitter hunt. We thought, it's got to be right there. Oh, there's a cliff. Yeah, it's right there all right, but there's no path down there.
That transmitter was remarkably well, I don't know what the word I'm trying to say is. You could really narrow it down. So, and there was a bit of a delay. It was interesting. You swing the antenna, then you get, the beep stronger. You stop. So, you had to move slowly. If you took a big sweep, you go, okay, well, I know it's in this quarter of a circle.
Yeah.
Narrowed it down to 90 degrees. Let's go that way.
Well, I suppose at times that's good enough until you start getting closer.
Well, yeah. One, we walked right past a couple of times.
Couple of times, yeah. Kind of like geocaching.
Yeah. And
So how big are these transmitters?
They vary.
Wish I had a picture.
Yeah. You can get probably the size of a small, like a small handheld GPS basically, and then a wire antenna. And these ones were set up.
Small lock and lock.
So, yeah. These ones are set up to be found. I mean, it was kind of a beginner course, but I've heard some of the guys talk about them where they're hidden sometimes in plain sight, well camouflaged, like a geocache. Sometimes they'll take them, and because they're literally a radio transmitter, they do things kind of devious and like hide them in a park right next to a chain link baseball backstop that the entire backstop and fence resonates radio frequency and really throws off your direction finding. Like I said, they do it on purpose. Some of them are urban automobile type based, and the guy says one of them one time he took and built the whole radio transmitter into a junction box and just set it on the side of the street, and the antenna was in a rubber hose laid out across the street, looked just like a traffic counter. People drove right by it, not knowing that was the hidden transmitter. So
here's a picture of the actual transmitter and the little flag by it. They all had this orange and white flag. So, you just, once you found the flag, you could see, a few feet away. Not you. Some of them you had to be right on top of. And of course,
that's not
the back side of the flag is camouflaged.
It's camouflaged, yeah. And that's not a standard. All radio direction finders look like that. That's what Rich, that is part of the Radio Club of Tacoma, made his to look like. And he said in some places he would hide them up in a tree, off the ground. Right. I know that's my weakness, geocaching. I look all over the ground and can't find a thing, and then happen to glance up and it's over my head. So, yeah, it was fun.
And this is a waypoint or
orienteering checkpoint or whatever.
This happened to be marker 138 here. See the white and yellow or white and orange flag?
Yeah.
Yeah. The only difference is it's dimensional. So as you get close, you go, wait, there's something else there that's not quite right.
Yeah, and each of the participants in that had some kind of little measuring chip or something, because they would come up and actually touch it to that thing, and it would beep, and it would log the time that they found that waypoint.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Hey,
the
speaking
attenuator
of
I was talking about. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say that's one of the attenuators that you dial in more or less padding and attenuation on. There's one of the little handheld radios we borrowed. So
nice. I was just about to share, speaking of flags, I don't know if you guys had heard or not, but this past week was the 50th anniversary of the Canadian flag.
Awesome.
No, that was nice. How long has the country been about?
Longer than 50 years.
I was thinking.
Okay, here's a question in my complete ignorance. What did the flag look like 51 years ago?
It was a variation of the Union Jack.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've seen that before now that you mention it.
So what brought about the change in the flag?
Maple syrup.
Exports?
I should have a better answer prepared for that question, but I don't. So.
Yeah, because you started it.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to acknowledge the anniversary of the Canadian flag. That's really...
Welcome to Land Monkey's Fun with Flags.
Fun with Flags, that's right.
Hey.
There would have been 51
At least I know which way to hang my country's flag.
That was an embarrassing moment for the United States. However, it's not our own flag.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah,
okay.
But it's a maple leaf. Like, let's point the stem up. That's got to be right.
Well, if you're in distress.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was distress. Well, okay, it was a... Land Monkey, you probably know the history of the event far better than I do. It's burned into your country's psyche.
Yet another, yeah. No, it was a baseball game, I believe. It was Toronto Blue Jays, if I'm not mistaken, were playing one of the U.S. teams. I can't remember which one. And the Canadian flag was hung upside down.
Shame.
I thought it was brought out on the field upside down. But yeah, anyway, it was
something to that effect. Yeah, I don't remember the specifics. But yes.
And that's
yes. All that to say, happy birthday, Canada flag.
Yay,
happy
Canada.
birthday! Yay!
Oh, Canada, your home and native land.
That's pretty good. You know more than most Americans do of our national anthem.
I can't say it's our home and native land because, wow,
No,
I'm not a native,
that was very clever the way you worked that in.
I went to a Seahawks game this year, and it was Canada Day. I had just gotten off the episode and was taken over by Canadians. I can't get away from these guys.
There you go. Oh, yeah, we're getting all kinds of feedback from White Coaster here helping us out.
Blue Jays beating Atlanta in the World Series in '92.
Hey, was it that long ago? I thought it was more recent than that. Maybe it's happened twice then.
Could be. I'm sorry, that is from Wet Coaster, who goes on to say the flag was changed to be distinctly Canadian and not part of Britain.
Well, that's definitely the underpinning motivation. I just don't know if there was some other political drive behind that.
Did Britain get upset and you said sorry? Sorry.
No, I think by that, I mean, 50 years ago, Britain had lost most of the British Empire by that point, so I don't think it was a shock or surprise. I think the British government and royal family were quite supportive, as I recall. Well, as I recall, it may sound like I was around 50 years ago now, but, as I have been informed.
The Marine Corps Color Guard carried the Canadian flag upside down.
There you go. Thank you, Wet Coaster.
And Land Monkey, you have to say this one.
Oh, it's Canada. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, it never gets old.
Yeah. Okie dokie.
All right. Well, is that a wrap for tonight? We're encroaching on 10 p.m. here.
Yes, we
How
are.
did that happen?
I don't know. Well, it got to 9 p.m. and then it got late.
Oh.
Yeah, the
Once
episode
it
went a
got
little
9.
longer than normal, but the content was great. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I was shocked when I realized we've got enough for an entire episode from just one day here at the park.
Yeah, that was great.
So, and I had no idea what we were doing or where we. Well, did I even know we were going to the park?
Yeah, because you wanted to find a geocache that I went and helped him, and we both failed to find it. But he'd been talking about going to for a couple of weeks, and I knew that this radio direction finding hunt was coming up on the 7th, and so I said, "Hey, let's go up there on the 7th. I'll pick you up. I want to show you something." Yeah. That was transmitter number 3.
Because there's 3 beeps.
There's 3 beeps.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. That's very cool.
It was cool, and we were like, "Wow, that really came out well." We didn't know how well that would record. It almost became annoying.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, definitely Dora Moore and Wet Coaster. We've seen you guys hanging in there. Thanks a lot. And anybody else who's watching or listening, thank you.
Thank you. Till next week.